Hello, I'm Ben Coleman, one of your hosts for the Florida Aviation Network, and we are all over the world with these presentations. Thank you for Obi Young and the entire crew and the other hosts as well. And everybody, it's a volunteer organization, and we just love aviation. And speaking of aviation, we're here in Sundsvall, Sweden, and we're fortunate enough to be in the home of a designer, builder, and an extremely talented engineer, Mr. Lage Norberg. Lage, good morning. How are you? Did I pronounce your name yet correctly?
Yeah, you pronounce it very good because the Americans normally say it, Lage.
But it's pronounced.
Yeah, that's.
What is your pronunciation?
Maybe this open A is a little bit more obvious when I say it, but I say Lage. My sons say Lage.
Well, then you don't mind me calling you Lage.
That's extremely well.
Okay.
That's good.
Lage, thank you for having us up here to look at your design. And speaking of the design, what do we have here? Where did this come from?
This is about as old as the whole project is. I needed something to do on my spare time, and I started this design around 1985, could be, and it materialized in the need for a place where to build in the plug, a part of it. I had it as a hobby. I've always been interested in the theoretical part of the flying. Anyway, I moved into this house 1987, and the main purpose of doing this movement from the other place was to get space enough, a room 6 by 3 meters, to start doing something with my theoretical design, and it ended up in that my boys voluntarily, I never forced them into it, and they wanted to join this project, and without them it wouldn't have been, because the speed of my progress doing this plugs in the beginning was something that would have taken a couple of 100 years to complete. But because of my boys, they the speed went up considerably, and I decided to make it legal, because you cannot come with a ready-to-fly airplane. This is what I have done. Please approve. But they don't like that. No. The authorities. So I started the process, I think, the right way by going the theoretical, presenting that, and getting all the people I needed from the authority requirement, and luckily they liked the idea of. They must have been doing that. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have voluntarily contributed to the outcome. That was a flying prototype in the beginning of year 2008.
So it took you that long during the development just to get it to the point of from paper to the airport to fly.
It really did, and the molds for the first fuselage was made by hand. We didn't have any computer files showing it the look, you said.
And you designed this to Part 23 standards.
Yes, because when I started this, not even the European regulations were other than mirroring the 423. So that was the only path I could go through. And later on, the European laws have been mirroring the Americans, but they, of course, wanted to do it of their own. They wanted to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, that's been attempted many times in aviation. But
Yes.
tell me why the concept? Why did you develop
All
this
right.
aircraft for its shape?
I'm a dedicated fly fisher, and I thought that doing this fishing, we went by car mostly far away on distant rivers. I was thinking a lot, and I was saying, why can't I just fly in here? So the prototype, yeah, it was made. I have been flying since 1959, so I consider myself being a relatively experienced pilot of all types. I have flown something exceeding 80 different types of airplanes. And I wanted to make the perfect tool for fishing trips.
So you can actually fish out of this aircraft.
Yeah,
The
we can
canopy
do
comes
that.
up and you
Yeah.
stand up and
Yeah.
wow.
When you fly fish, you need as much space behind as you need in forward.
Yeah, to get your fly where you
Yeah,
want it.
and the most wanted position when you use a fly rod is to keep it more or less vertical. Doing this way is possible, but
You don't get the precision of where your fly
yeah,
lands.
exactly. And then I have been a glider pilot and glider instructor since 1966.
That explains the high aspect ratio of the wings.
Yeah, that explains the long, narrow wings.
Well, Lage, I tell you, there's a lot more information that we're going to be developing on this project because the intent is to bring it to the world market and get LSA approval and hopefully have them all over the world with people learning how to fish and the avid fishermen having another tool to use to enjoy aviation in life.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because it was early named the Seagull because I had a feeling that many designers was afraid of that word because the seagull is all over the world and actually nobody likes them because they
Well, this one doesn't eat too much, and it doesn't. I don't think it will poop on anybody when they look up. So that was a joke, Lage.
What?
The seagull that drops.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't look up at a seagull when it flies over. Yeah.
But my admiration of birds would be 100% on the seagull because the seagull that's why they are spreading around the world.
They're crafty. They're very resilient, and they fly extremely well.
Extremely well.
I will admit that we have flown this airplane. Errol, our trusty cameraman, we flew the aircraft and it flies beautiful. So that was a yes from the cameraman. And
despite the weather, it was really bumpy.
well, seagulls have to fly in all kinds of weather. You know, rainy weather, and cold, and breezy.
How fast does it go?
Oh, how fast?
That's something that surprises me. That there is a formula you get up to when you do all the theoretical calculations. I used known airfoils everywhere. It wasn't actually that exotic unless the high spectra, the long narrow wing, and but still the formula you get that tells almost everything about the quality of the airplane was a bit underestimated, and that surprised me because there is a skin factor in this formula which actually talks about the skin drag, and the skin drag is very much depending on the building method. And I whatever you say, but I underestimated the smoothness of the composite design.
This is an all composite aircraft, isn't it? Okay.
It's
So it should be what, 90 knots?
The calculated cruise speed is of course depending on the power plant, but it was exceeded, and I made normally when you're a small plane flyer, you go somewhere in headwind, and when you go back, of some reason, the wind is opposite. You go headwind also home. But some years ago, I was down at my wife's place in Dalarna, and I had to go home to talk and do something with the boys. That was during the holiday period in Sweden, which traditionally was the month of July. So I flew. The car ride takes around 4 hours, but the flying time, because the car ride means going like this while the flying go. And I went home and went back, and when I calculated the true airspeed out from the hours I spent, I can show you in my logbook, was 104 knots, and that is very much to be this kind of an airplane, especially if you have an amphibian design.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been trying to pull it out of you, but the other day we were flying it, and I had it up to 110 knots.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good cruise speed for an aircraft that lands at 45 knots.
Yeah, that surprised me a little bit, and there are some building, something in the building process. I'm a long time designer of various things, and I always have in the back of my mind that the final end, it has to be profitable. If it's not, you run out of money.
Well, Lage, I tell you, it's obvious that you and your sons and your family have done an excellent job up to this point. And the next point is to take your prototype and refine it and put it in mass production. And there may even be in a kit put together to use for LSA approval in Florida, I think is where you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am very much appreciate you guys. I've known Errol since 7 years, but the first time I meet you, but you are the guys I would like to do this process in the U.S.
Well, we would like to help you, and not only would we like to, we are.
Yeah.
So that's the good part. Lage, I want to thank you for your time this morning. And,
thank you.
And from the field, again, this is your roving reporter, Ben Coleman, Florida Aviation Network. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Errol, for all your hard work behind the camera this morning.